Alrighty, ladies and gents, here we are again out at the airfield. This is that Piper Cub we had a video on the other day. So I got the owner himself here, and he's going to give us a little rundown and show us what this thing's about, what it is, how it runs, and he's going to fly her. So let's get to that. Right, so what do we got here?
So we have a 1945 Piper Cub. It's technically a Piper L4. There's a placard in there that says, and it was with the Army Air Corps back in World War II. And it was actually stationed for the first part of its life at the same air base that I did my technical training at, which is Shepherd Air Force Base. For the history that I looked up on the serial number, it said that it got damaged on takeoff on one of the wings somewhere. And when we had to do wing repair to it, you could actually see the original splicing on the spar that they did. And surprisingly, they did pretty good workmanship for.
And that would have been in, what, about 1945?
Yeah, all in 1945.
Well, let's go around and show me what makes it an L4.
So, the difference between a Piper Cub and an L4 is mainly the interior is the biggest difference.
Okay.
Because you'll see here with this window, it's a square window.
Yeah.
We have another Piper Cub over there for reference. And they typically have a round window, while an L4 would have what they called the bird cage. So you'd have the entire top being completely open, you know, the greenhouse.
Uh-huh.
And then they had the windscreen come back and come into a diagonal. And then you had a ton of room, and it was meant to have the pilot in the front seat, and then they would have an observer in the back seat with his feet facing rearwards, and then he would look out the back of the aircraft for artillery observation. And he had like a little sling to sit in rather than just a seat.
Okay.
And then this one has the original sling mounts here for the where the seat used to go, you know, where it's sling across, but they've just modified it for the civilian use.
That's cool.
And or there's other versions where they could have a huge radio back here for artillery communication. That's when the pilot would just be in here.
Okay.
And then they had medical versions where they had a big
they had a big door.
A big door on the back. I can't say if that was all of these. I don't know specifically if they came with this, but I know that the U.S. Army used small aircraft like this for that. Right. And that was what their primary mission was.
Okinawa and Iwo Jima, they used a lot of those. I think they had a fleet of like 100 of them.
Yeah.
That would fly them soldiers out, and they would do it like one at a time. So they had a lot of flights. But anyways.
But yeah, so this one, I purchased it 2 years ago in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, like a year and something.
Yeah.
And I got a pretty good deal on it. I actually bought it from a Corsair pilot from World War II. That's what he did. And so that was pretty cool. The fact that just the history of all this time with the military. Right. And I'm of course a military junkie. Love World War II. So this having a warbird has just made me very happy. Yeah. And you know, one day maybe it'll get restored to the original green or whatnot.
That'd be pretty cool.
But and so I bought it, got it for a pretty decent price. And but the caveat with that is that there was a rat's nest. Of course. Oh yeah. In, this wing, there was a rat's nest out there. The whole wingtip was pretty much gone, completely corroded away. Let's be honest. Right. So we had to go through and redo pretty much from here out. Almost all the ribs were completely toast. Yeah. So we just took everything off, put new ribs on, and everything, and then we had to do the stitch process and put new skin on it, which that was a pretty cool learning. Yeah. I've got some pictures of that. Yeah. And some pictures of the painting and little videos. I'll chop those in here and you can see what that is. Yeah. So that was quite the extensive process. Yeah. Great help you were. That took a while, didn't it? Yeah, that took a while. So it took about a year to get this thing fixed up because this wing needed that. And then on this wing, it actually had a bee's nest, and that only corroded away one rib, but it was the whole entire bottom section of it, and it was this rib right here. Okay. So it was right where the strut attaches and everything like that, so it was a big pain in the butt, and so we cut a hole in it, and then we had to fix it. Yeah, make a splice it up in there, riveted all new pieces on it, and really tight work. Okay. But we did it. I mean, yeah, so. Yeah. So if you didn't see the last video, this plane hadn't flown since 2010. Yes. So back in, I think it was July, we finally took it on its first flight for a long time, and we're going to do that again here today. So we'll see about getting you all
suited up. All right, now that you're all suited up, let's get this thing started and head for the sky.
All right,
what do you think of that?
Sounds good.
All right. We got assistant Christopher back there to hold the tail.
Just
so we don't have to
watching the video. We have already done a full pre-flight. I've already been flying it for probably half an hour now, so it's all warmed up and everything. Already done the fuel sumps. We're gonna check that the switch is off, the throttle's closed, so it's safe. I'm going to give it a shot of primer. When they're cold, rule of thumb that I was told was 3 shots of primer, and then you want to rapidly come here and spin the prop, and this sucks in fuel into the cylinders and gets it to where it'll actually catch. If you don't do that, there'll be no fuel in the cylinders, so when you go to spin the prop, it won't start. So now, switch is off. I'm going to switch off, throttle cracked, and then we come here and just...
There she goes. All right, let's hit the air. He's going to be taxiing, turning around, and then he'll take off back towards us. It should be a pretty cool take. Aren't these things just so cool? He's just gonna go up and do a pattern for us and come land, and we'll interview him a little more. I want to ask him about those numbers. There's a significance behind them I think you might think is pretty cool. All right, he's turning around. Go throttle up, he's coming our way. Let's see, can I pick him up? There he is. He's going to do the pattern around the airfield and then... Well, come on, come back into focus, don't you? There. Then we'll get him on landing.
She's not a problem with the airplane as long as I'm not involved. Yeah, so I gotta put her in the shop if I get
Another happy landing.
Extra energy going downhill. It's just hanging.
We're coming back in. Get her to shut her down and we'll wrap her up. Beautiful flying there, kid.
A little bit of a bounce on landing, but
It looked pretty good to me.
Tanga, come here.
but yeah, that was a really good glide in.
Yeah.
That's for sure. It felt really good, especially because I feel like that's the more difficult part of the field.
Yeah, to come downwind.
There's a lot more. What do you call it? There's a lot more trees
Right.
in the way. Very large trees, like on takeoff and stuff.
Yeah, you're looking out at them at the corner of your eyes, aren't
Yeah.
But yeah.
So the other thing I was going to ask you, what is the significance of your NC numbers back here? Let's go look at them, see what they are.
Oh yes.
I mentioned there was some notion behind them.
So it's funny because my dad has always loved aviation his entire life. You know, worked in the industry. You know, manufactures wing spars for Cetabrias.
And that's where you got your love from.
That's where I got my love from. Always from a little kid. Dad and I were going to air shows, going all over the place. You know, we both loved the B-17, favorite aircraft.
Right.
And so the significance of this aircraft is, well, actually, back in the day, my dad built his own ultralight. It was an FP-101, and he, you know, you get married, you get rid of it. So he got rid of it, but and that was in the 90s sometime, early 90s. And so ever since then, you know, he loves flying, absolutely loves flying. And finally, both him and I finally were able to buy this aircraft. And the significance of it is that his birth date is 1957, and my birth date is 1999. So our tail number is 5799.
That's pretty
Out of
cool.
all the aircraft
Yeah.
in the world that you could buy, somehow we, for one, happen to buy an aircraft that's a warbird. So that, like, obviously, is like the best part. It's a Piper Cub too. First airplane I ever flown was actually a Piper Cub with my instructor. And so I've always had a love of these aircraft. It's a warbird. It's got both of our birth dates on the tail number somehow. So if that isn't coincidence,
I don't know what is. Yep.
That's for sure. So
right on. Well, hey, I think we're going to wrap it up for this video. That was pretty cool. Thanks for bringing us along. We'll get some GoPro shots one time. We'll put some in the cabin with you, and people can see what you're flying around and looking at.
That'd be awesome, yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for watching, and have a nice day.
See you later.